Alright, last video I did the majority of the S10, but this is what remains, is the tailgate. So the tailgate is the original factory color. It's got its scratches and bruises and stuff, but it's pretty good tailgate, pretty decent shape. Sins of my youth, when I built a low profile bumper, I eliminated the license plate place, and then I put on a license plate with rivets. So that's the only real penetrations this truck's tailgate has. Looking around it, I had a little bit of trouble. This seems to have bent out, so I'll need to slam that back into place. It has that open edge, and there's a slot and everything for how you get your tailgate off. Pretty simple. One of the things I was looking at, got some scratches. I do like this decal, but once I'm done painting this, to put that decal back on, only source I've seen for it, the actual factory style decal, LMC truck, $75. So that decal is probably not going back on. The rockstomper.com is a buddy of mine from college. He no longer runs that business. He went back in 2008, 2009 time frame and got himself a real engineering job again. Poor guy. But he's pretty much the one that taught me a lot about what I know about off-roading, about welding, about fabricating. He's a fabrication genius besides an engineer. Wish he was still in the business of making four-wheel drive stuff. Since it is the factory paint, I'm going to go a little less aggressive on the sanding. I'm going to sand with some 120, then some 320. I'm removing this sticker. I'm going to use a little scraper and a heat gun and try to take it up as gently as possible, not to make any nicks in the paint. Rivets, nice anti-theft device. These ones have rusted out a little bit, and I had washers behind the rivets. But if you've ever drilled out rivets, you know you got a pretty good chance of just spinning the rivet instead of getting what you want out of it. Don't know that I'm really going to cap off those holes again. I'm probably highly likely to just put more rivets and washers on, because I don't have a solution until I rebuild my bumpers. Once I rebuild my bumpers, then I may come back and weld those holes shut and then make this a solid tailgate again. I don't think I've got much in the way of rust. I hope I'm not surprised, because all of your factory drain holes are still open. This thing usually sits in an upright position, so any moisture that does make it back there drains out pretty simple. We're in an arid environment. Gunk that actually got trapped behind there. And then it has done some damage to the paintwork. No signs of rust here or here, so that seems to have held up well. My theory of it being able to dry out seems okay. Last video someone made the comment that Windex is actually abrasive. I've never heard that before. I haven't looked into it enough to confirm or deny. My stand on Windex for paint prep still holds. If it is abrasive, that's not really going to hurt something before you paint. After you paint, if you're looking for a good, shiny, cut and buffed job, yeah, it might. But I don't see it hurting for paint prep. Yeah, definitely put some scratches in. When I put the tail, I'm going to put the license plate back. I'll find a way to actually stand it off and give it a little bit of standoff so it'll drain out and the mud and stuff can get out. I've got some ideas. For now, break out the heat gun and see what I can do here. He used a razor blade on his paint. Oh, it's so horrible. It's not what I've seen in the other YouTube videos, the ones that do it better. Save your comments for somebody who cares. Some of you young punks need to learn that the ladies prefer a man who can be gentle. I didn't say I am gentle, I said I can be gentle. Yeah, through the clear coat, down to the primer, don't care. It's off. Interesting thing, your standard vinyl cutter that most people would have to make these kinds of personalized stickers, the Chevy factory one left way less residue than this one did. Yeah, a lot more residue left behind on that one. That sticker's well over a decade old. But yeah, way less residue. I just got to clean that up, sand it off. Should be able to paint this by the time it warms up. It's already warm enough in the garage. It's got sunshine on the door. But it's supposed to be high somewhere around 60 today, so it should be plenty enough for here for what I need to do. So pointers about being gentle. What I found was the #1 setting on this particular heat gun was best, and you really did not have to heat it up too much, as you saw in that video, to get something to actually pull off and come off. Where there were nicks and scratches in the decals, especially on the O, things were pulling apart, and it took a little bit more work. No big deal. Most of these letters, I didn't break through anything. Anything I did break through, you can guarantee the sanding's about to fix that. This gunk here, I think I'm going to break out some Goo Gone and try to get that glue off before I try to sand. I don't want it gunking up my works. You make sure you have an extremely shallow angle at your razor blade, so you're just getting in between the paint and there. These ones took a little bit more, and I was using a lot more back and forth motions. Versus these, quality of the factory ones, they peeled pretty good as a single unit. Once they're heated up nice and pliable, they come off. Once they're cooled off, they're hard again. But that's that. I'll do some Goo Gone here, try to get all that residue crap off. You can see it's sticky. Alright, duty calls. PSA on PPE. Public service announcements on personal protective equipment. You have 2 masks here. This one is for dust. This one actually filters out harmful fumes. High percentage of them anyway. Some can get through, depending on the chemicals you're using. In my last video where I did the main part of the truck, someone caught me actually spraying with this mask. Yeah, it stayed clean. A lot of the dust is still on the outside, which is good. I mean, that's fine, but I would only really recommend using this one if you're sanding. Especially if you're in the closed environment of this garage, where I'm not popping the door open because I want to retain the heat, or because the wind is too strong out there and I don't want it blowing my paint stream around, then you absolutely need to have one of these. And the second, if you notice in that last video, the second I was done spraying, I popped the garage door open to let the fumes out. Sure, the neighborhood appreciated it. As you can hear by my voice, yeah, I did some damage. I did some damage by using that for painting in a closed environment like this. So don't be dumb like I was. Be smarter. You know, after trying to heal up my throat, my lungs, and my nasal passages, you won't catch me spray painting without one of these on ever again. I'm not going through this kind of healing process again. You would think with over 20 years experience doing all kinds of things like this, construction, combat engineering, so on and so forth, that I'd have been smart enough. Funny thing is, most injuries that happen to professional tradesmen happen at home where they get lax and nobody's watching what they do for safety. So when you're doing your own stuff, maintain your own safety. no, he didn't use a tack coat. He didn't do the light tack coat first. He's ruined the whole thing. You make a comment like that, I know two things about you. One, you haven't spray painted as much as I have. And two, you do not understand that when your subject is lying flat, you can push a lot more paint at first, and it will adhere, especially when it's self-etching primer. So save your comments. Especially when you do not have anything on your channel showing how to do it the right way. Those of you that are here to actually learn instead of be freaking little retards, yes, laying flat, push a lot of paint. It's rattle can. That's one of the biggest things about it is you have got to push a good thickness. So I did use an entire can on this thing. Entire can for a tailgate. Excessive? Maybe. But it gives me a very good thickness. I'm a little bit concerned that my stupid masking tape is pulling up. I may pull that back off and redo it. It'd be a simple thing to do. Because I've waited 30 minutes and now I can actually top coat this. So yeah, since that masking is pulling, I've probably already got some of the primer coming up. And yeah, as you saw when I was prepping, the Duraback that was on the top edge that used to be white at one point in time is all worn and faded anyway. But still, attention to detail, it'll take me a couple minutes. I'll remask that and then I'm going to spray the gray. And I'm going to do the same thing. There will not be a light tack coat. I do not do that. I push a lot of paint. I have learned through experience where the edge is at that you have to dance on between too much and too little. Because you want to get it right up to that edge so you don't get runs. And yeah, I still get runs. So what? It's not the end of the world. Most of the ones I've got, you won't find them unless I point them out to you or unless you spend the time to actually go looking at my truck close and detailed. All right, here we go. All right, there it is in all of its glory. Still curing up a little bit. Yes, there's a little bit of trash in it. Ooh, just a little bit tacky, so I shouldn't touch it. A little bit of dust, a little bit of stuff. But overall, orange peel is low. It is highly glossy. I tried that same trick on the back again, whereby I primed the Duraback and I covered it with the Rustoleum. We'll see how that one goes. It's kind of an experiment. We'll see. It does give the gloss back without having to give another heavy coat of Duraback that's just going to fade and die in the UV lights anyway. But yeah, my line along here held in most spots. A little bit not there. Otherwise, it's pretty good. And for those of you that, oh, he got overspray on his truck. Well, it just came back from the car wash. Overspray's gone. Any dust or overspray that may have been on the truck, it's gone. You know what you're doing and you control your spray stream, you're fine. If I was doing an HVLP gun, then this truck would absolutely be out of the garage. But I'm not. And if you think you're being attacked here and you feel a little bit like I'm being rude to you, then maybe you need to sit down and listen, because here's something that's kind of bothering me. A week or two ago, I had 300 and some odd subscribers, a tight little group of people that I would normally interact with. We would share project ideas with between our videos. We'd talk about things in our comments, concerns, challenges, whatever we're going through. And it's good. And now I make that video, and it's funny because back when I had a Rustoleum job on this one, those videos combined, when I did the Suburban and Rustoleum, they're 30 to 40,000 views. That's a lot for me. My average video gets 200. which means not even all my subscribers watch everything I do. And I'm fine with that. Because I'm smart enough and experienced enough to know that the gravy train of making a lot of money on YouTube, that train left the station. If you're young and you think that's the way you're going to go, you need to rethink life. I keep using the words young and old, right? Well, my 18-year-old nephew was speaking in church, and he said something to the effect that he loves old people, and by old people he means everybody over the age of 40. I'm 43. So I've been places, and when I say I've been doing these things for decades, I mean it. Decades I've been doing these things. Now remember, I didn't have my first email address until I was 21. I grew up without the internet, without social media, without all the stuff a lot of you youngsters have been taking for granted. The point being that the way I grew up and the way I learned how to do these things, the first instructors I had were my older brother and my father. They're the first ones that taught me how to paint and how to woodwork and how to do mechanics. I became a teenager. The way things worked, in some degree they still do in this life, only now we do it on a digital format. As a teenager, the old dudes, those guys 40 and up, would invite you into their garage, they would hand you tools, and they would teach you how to do things. If you were smart, you would listen to them, you would be polite, you would have manners, and you would thank them for what they taught you to do. Now what irritates me is a lot of you little retards, and I use the word retard meaningfully, that you are retarded and that you are slow to understand, and you do not get what's going on, and you are not picking things up fast enough to learn that you need to have manners even online, especially online. Because in electronic format, if you don't have manners, people will take you for being the retard that you are. And it's not our fault, us in the world, those of us that are older, not our fault that you grew up without good male role models in your life. You can blame your single mother for that. But it is your fault if you do not overcome that handicap and you do not learn to have manners and to be respectful and polite, because digitally speaking, I am inviting you into my garage. I'm inviting you to take part in what I do, and I am teaching you what I know. So you want to make your snide little remarks in my comment section, fair warning. Actually, I'm not giving you any warning. I'm going to be ruthless, and I'm going to make fun of you. And I'm going to call you the retard you are for not having manners. And I'm going to call you out for your lack of knowledge, and the first thing I do is look at your page, and I'm going to look at you and I'm going to laugh because you have zero content, and you have nothing that shows you have the skill to call me out on what I do and do not do. Now you will notice if you watch the interaction of all of us old dudes on YouTube, we are polite with each other, we trade advice, we trade tips, and we trade tricks with each other, and we do it respectfully and with manners. Case in point, I know the gentleman that called me out for using the improper PPE when I was using a dust mask when spraying, I know he is older because of how he interacted, because he said, hey, you've got your babies that need you to stay alive. You can hear him around right now. And he said, please take care of your lungs and make sure you're using the right protective equipment. I know that guy has been raised the same way I have. And I respect his comment. And I take his correction in stride and with humility and say, yes, sir, you are correct. I was wearing the wrong PPE when I first started spraying, and it won't happen again because I hurt myself doing that. Learn how men interact, or you will be disinvited from the digital garage, and you will never see yourself invited to a real garage where you can be taught real skills and real capabilities. Now, grand majority of the guys I interact with on Instagram and on YouTube, they don't need this talk. But for you retards that are Johnny-come-latelys and haven't watched all my videos and do not know what you should know by doing your research correctly, and you want to pop and jay in and make your little comments on my videos, you're in the wrong room for that one. You're in the wrong garage for that one. Keep it up, I'll ban you. You won't be invited back. And that hurts you, not me. Those that want to learn will learn. Those that don't can remain retarded. Now, if you've stayed that long through that rant, hey, maybe it does you some good. I hope it does. Again, Not my fault you were raised without male role models. Those of you who were, even you younger ones that are 20, maybe even 15, I can tell you have male role models. I can tell you have men who taught you how to be respectful and have manners. I can tell. And I will interact with you. And I will share things, and I will answer questions. And I will talk to you on DMs and Instagram. And those that know that have seen it. And they know I am that way. And they know any of us that are 40 and up, we are that way. Why? Because our fathers raised us to be that way. We had strong male role models outside of our fathers. I was 17 when I was invited into, in kind of an apprenticeship form, into a body shop and learned how to prep a vehicle, learned how to sand it. No, they didn't let me run the HVLP at that young of an age. They did all the acid etch, they did the prime, they did the paint, they did the clear coat. But I learned through that process. I learned what correct looks like. And I also learned how to handle it when you've got a low budget and you're going after something like this. If you're a young kid, 15 to 20 to 25, and you got your first pickup truck and you're trying to do it, this is a method you can do to pull off a decent paint job till you can afford to go get yourself some Raptor liner, or you can afford to go to Line-X and pay real prices to get real stuff done. That is what I'm trying to show. So keep your snide remarks about 2K clear and all that kind of stuff to yourself, because you're not paying attention if you make that remark. You're not listening if you make that remark. Those that listen don't make those remarks. They understand what I'm after and what I'm showing. All right, let's make that the end of my rant, and I'm hoping I don't have to do that again. And those of you that come this far, appreciate you watching. Those of you that have learned, I hope it does teach you something. And I'm glad if it does. After that, we'll catch you guys on the next one.